Good afternoon, folks. It is the Makers Fest at the Children's Museum of New Hampshire. They're hosting a whole bunch of workshops today, and we're doing a little bonus comics camp workshop here with the Makers Fest. So I'm Merrick Bennett over at merrickbennett.com. You can find lots of my comics and stuff. We're going to be drawing together today. The idea of today is that we can take a single sheet of paper and turn it into an 8-page book. Now, we said for prep that people could download the template that we posted over at the Children's Museum, right? And a little video that walks you through how to fold it up so that it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-page mini comic book. So if you're watching this after the event, you can pause now, follow those prep links, you can go set it up, and then come back here and draw. All right, there we go. Welcome back. If you're just joining us and you don't happen to have that template done, you can draw an 8-step. Let's see. You can take a blank sheet of paper and draw an 8-step comic just by folding it up the way we do with the book. Fold it in half and in half and in half. And you'll get an 8-panel comic right there on the page. Right? So you can do that now if you want, and you can actually trace with a pencil, draw these lines, and then I would recommend numbering them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. For English language comics, people tend to read, start at the top, go left to right, go down, go left to right. So that's a good order to do it in. Of course, if you're handy at making your mini comics, you might just go the route of one more step there, right? Put that cut in there. You've made these with Comics Camp all summer. We can do this pretty quickly. All you need to do then is make a quick little mini comics ninja origami fold, bring the back around, and that's all it takes to make your 8-page book. So don't let that confuse you. If you haven't done that, you can work today from an open sheet. But if you're used to doing that, there you go. You've got an 8-page book in your hand right now. All right. That's enough prep. Actually, let's do a little warm-up exercise. I'm going to be working from, I think I'll just work from a blank page. You may have your template in front of you. I'm going to work from a blank page because sometimes things happen as I work, and I like to have my flexibility here. So I'm just numbering these pages so I can keep them all straight, keep them in order. And my goal is to draw an entire 8-page mini comic book in this hour that we have together. Maybe it'll take less than an hour. Maybe there will be a couple little things left to finish up after. I'm not going to worry too much about making great art or telling an epic story or anything like that. I'm just going to doodle and draw and let my imagination kind of carry me through. That's what I love about comics. As you get stuff down on the page, you're going to come up with new ideas. So your imagination can really bounce off the page and find something, discover something you've never thought of before. So one way that, let's do a quick warm-up before we start. I'm going to flip this over. So flip over your page so you're looking at the blank side, and just start with a couple scribbles here, right? And then one thing you'll notice is you can always turn those scribbles into monsters just by adding a couple details, right? Maybe some basic stick legs, a little tail, maybe some horns, right? Any of these scribbles looked at from a different direction will become a different monster. Oh, I like that one. Maybe it's running, right? We can give them faces, actions. We'll give it a shadow so it's really flying. Give it some dragon spikes along its back. Oh, that's kind of cute. Actions, you can give them setting. This one's like a bird monster. You can give them text. Make them say things with word bubbles, all sorts of stuff. You notice also I'm working with a pencil to start with. Ooh, I like these big feet here. This one looks a little more dangerous. I'm working with a pencil to start with because pencil is nice. I can erase and make changes, right? And I can just doodle and be sketchy and be tentative. So working from our story, if you're working from the template, It's going to look like this. You've got all your pages numbered in front of you, 1 through 4, 5, 6, 7 upside down there, and 8. The key to drawing this book is we're going to start drawing. We'll probably start, I recommend starting on 2 because 1 is your outside front cover. So you're going to put a title here and a cover picture, but we'll start telling our story on 2, right? And I usually start on 2. I don't have a cover in mind, so I start on 2. I work around, then we'll rotate it around, and we'll draw 4 and 5, 6 and 7. Then we'll come around, and by the time we reach page 8, who knows where we'll be. We'll have surprised ourselves, right? All right. So let's see. Let's start in, one thing you can do if you're not sure what you're going to draw, I was going to recommend one thing you can do is you can pick one of these pages, any one of these pages, and you can actually put a blob monster into it. I'll just put a blob in here, then I'll turn it into a monster. I like this 3-eyed monster motif that I sometimes use here. Okay, give it some fangs. Quick monster. All right, and then I chose page 6. So somewhere in my story on page 6, this surprise monster is going to come out into the story in some way. All right, so then I'll just forget that monster. I'll let it be a surprise. You can always throw that into your story if you're looking for a story idea. But if you have a story idea, you can just get started. I was thinking maybe on this first, remember I'm starting on page 2. Maybe on this first page, you know what I'll probably do? I'm going to use page 2 and 3 together. Now, the downside of the template, the nice thing, you can actually draw this as a book. Let me fold this up into a book so you can see how that works. The nice thing about the book is that those 2 pages always go together. When you open this cover, you get those 2 pages together. And when you turn the page, you get those 2 pages together, right? So they're always together. There's always a reveal. When I turn this page, I'm going to get, oh, there's the monster. But you won't see the surprise monster until you turn the page. That's what makes it a surprise. That's the reveal. That's one of the great things about doing it as a book instead of a whole sheet in front of you, right? So let's see. I'm thinking I could actually put those 2 panels together. I'll just stick with the template now if that's what you're using. I was thinking of this just the other night. We went out on the river in a canoe because it was such a beautiful night and the fish were biting. So what I think I'll do is I'll put myself, I'm going to use my imagination and draw myself as the way I cartoon myself, which is a little different from how I actually look. And we're relaxing here. Maybe I'll give myself a fishing pole, doing something, kind of normal. Kind of something that happens all the time. Like here's my dog rowing the canoe. She rows the canoe. Let's see, how can I do that paddle? I'll put a paddle in here. I'll put her arms holding it. She's smiling, maybe her tongue sticking out. And we'll put some water around here. Maybe you can see some fish. Right? And I'm working in pencil. So I can move things around if I don't want a fish there, if I want to change some details, I can always do that. Kind of like having the fish in here, like it's X-ray vision of the water. Right? And you can draw whatever kind of setting you want. It's nice to establish some setting here. I'm not going to do too much more than that. Maybe I'll just do like a couple clouds so there's like a distant sky up there. Oh, you know what I need to use that space for? Let's have these characters saying something. How about, let's put some text in. It's the end of a long week. So relaxing. I like to write my words a little bigger than they need to be. Put a line pointing to rabbit there. Oh, that looks like a relaxing scene. That looks like a happy-go-lucky, relaxing scene. I'll just let the fishing line trail off the edge there. Ah, that's kind of nice. So when I open my book, whatever the cover says, whatever the title says, when I open my book, I have a setting there, right? I I have a little toolbox I like to use when I make these. I've been doing this all summer, saying to people, if you work faces and actions and setting and text into a picture, you're going to have a story there. It's just the way our imaginations work, right? When your imagination looks at this, it looks through it. It says, okay, maybe the fish will bite the line. Maybe the canoe will tip over. Maybe the dog actually doesn't know how to row. Maybe the dog's chewing on the paddle there. I have to, well, maybe she does chew on the paddle. Like your imagination just starts, she does, look at that. Your imagination just starts kind of trying to figure it out, right? Trying to put all these parts together, the faces, the actions, the setting, the text, and telling stories about them. That's what our imagination does. It's a good survival skill. So let's see what's going to happen, especially if I make this line go right off the page into the next page, right? That gives your imagination a little clue that you have to turn the page to find out what happens. No monster yet on this page. I'm going to try something a little different though. Here, I think I'll use these as two separate panels. So I'll tell two moments in the story. Now, what could happen? There's a bunch of things that could happen. The dog could chew up the paddle and we could be left without a paddle. The canoe could tip over, or somebody could come snorkeling up out of the water and surprise us. Or I could, maybe I get a nibble on the line. So let's see here. Let's put our water down. I'm going to zoom in. When I have a smaller panel like this, I can actually zoom in on part of the scene. Maybe I'll focus on Rabbit's end of the canoe here. And you notice I'm drawing Rabbit very simply, sort of a round head, ears, stick arms, because I don't want to get too, oh, there's the pole's going to curve down. The line going in, maybe some ripples. I don't want to show what's down there under the water yet. I'll make the line shake. There we go. I'll have to put some sound effects in here. Tug, tug. Make the cord, the fishing line shake. Put some water details. Now, let's just test read that. Ah, so relaxing. Turn it. Oh, maybe Rabbit's confused or surprised. Exclamation mark, question mark. Maybe some eyebrows. Some surprise there, right? So what I'm trying to do is go from panel to panel and build this. When you open my book, whatever the title, whatever I put on the cover, ultimately, when I open my book, I surprise you with the setting. And now something's going to happen. Some kind of action happens. I surprise myself. I surprise my characters with a tug, tug. So I could show like Rabbit pulling a fish out of the water here. Or even better, maybe I can flip the tables here. I'll keep everything the same, but I will make Rabbit. Let's put a tail on Rabbit here. Getting pulled in. There we go. That's more exciting. That's more fun. I'll do some splashes around there, maybe some water in the air. I definitely need a sound effect. Maybe I can put the sound effect down in the water. Sploosh. Sounds kind of splashy. There we go. Maybe Rabbit, what does Rabbit say as you go over? So this is kind of nice as it reads left to right. So I can see I get this going from left up and down to the right, and it's going to keep going into the next page. And you know what's coming on page 6, right? So let's see. So I like to keep the action going left to right as we go. I noticed the canoe, just by habit, I made the canoe going left to right. I made the line tugging. Rabbit looks at the fishing pole, looks down at the line, and you get the tug. Then comes out of the canoe, goes into the water, always left to right. I kind of do that by habit because I've drawn so many comics that I'm trying to keep my imagination going on to the next page, and that works for the reader too. Let's see. Hey, Phyllis, nice to see you here. I'm getting some comments here. Oh, Phil says, hi, American Greta. Yeah, you know Greta, my dog Greta. Have you seen her rowing the canoe like this, chewing on the paddle? Yeah, these projects, Ms. Gritch says, I wish I knew how to do this when I was teaching. I had the kids make books and other projects so they could remember facts about any subject. Oh, absolutely. If you draw a comic about any subject, you learn so much about it. This is just, today we're just kind of having fun and exploring, but it's a great way to put your thoughts in order and get them down on paper. I'll show you a couple of my comics once we've drawn a little more and how I do that. I think Rabbit can say something. There's like this moment Rabbit gets pulled out of the canoe, flies through the air, lands in the water. See, this picture is not just one moment in time. We think of it, you know, people think of it as a snapshot with a camera, but no, it's a sequence within the picture. So maybe Rabbit could say, whoa, hey, help, something like that. We'll put a little bubble around it. We'll put a pointer. I think just whoa is enough. I don't want to overload this with too much text. 4 letters too many. Let's take that out. Just have them say, whoa, and a little line, because I think we just did a line, not a bubble there. Yep, just a line. So we'll keep it consistent. Huh? Whoa, maybe huh. Can I fit in a huh? I don't want to make my text too small because readers are going to hold this in their hands and quickly read through it. And I want them to, I want it to be as easy as possible to read. All right, now turning the page, you saw the whole sheet, so you know what happens next. We do have our monster on page 6. Oh my goodness. So let's just test read this so we get the full impact. I like to test read my work as I go multiple times. I try to look at it with the fresh eyes of a reader, right? The way a reader coming to it the first time would see it. Don't worry, we'll have a title and a cover here. Once we finish the story, we'll go back and do number 1. So page 2 and 3, we decided went together. Ah, so relaxing. It's a nice big open panel, nothing really going on. So it is pretty relaxing. Now we have, huh, tug, tug, and then, whoa, sploosh. Maybe a zip. Let's try that sequence. Huh? So what? Huh? Tug, tug. Zip, whoa, sploosh. Hopefully that brings the reader along here, right through there. And then we turn the page and it's the monster. Oh, that gives me an idea. I think Rabbit is right here, but tiny. Holding on to that fishing pole. Maybe we'll put the line going right into that monster's mouth. Maybe this is one of those monsters at the bottom of the river with all the tentacles. We'll do some tentacles under here. We didn't know this about this monster until we realized what the setting was. Of course, monsters adapt to their settings, right? And the monster says, hey, I caught one. I got one. Me got one. I don't know how this monster talks. Your monster can talk any way you want. And maybe there's more horns. We want this monster to be really scary. Hey, me got one. Now the advantage too, you can see the advantage to doing your own 8-page mini without the template, right? If you learn to, and my videos show you how to do this, if you learn to cut and fold, fold and cut and fold the book, and then number your own pages, then if you bring like this on this page 2 to 3, if we bring those panels together, we don't get this line in the middle. I could probably white out that line if I really need to once I'm done with my comic. I definitely want a border there, right? I'm thinking maybe this is like a big panel again, sort of opening up the underwater world, in which case I might have to white out these panel borders that are here. But if I were doing it just with blank pieces of paper, I wouldn't have that problem. Not really a problem, but that's one of the trade-offs with using this template. I did the template so people could make it and follow the pages and have it ready to go. But either way, it's good to be able to do both ways. Maybe there's another monster in here. Let's give ourselves another scribble and we'll do like a crazy monster here. Uh-oh, I've got mosquitoes in here in the studio. There must be a hole in the screen somewhere. It's a rainy day here in New Hampshire. Oh, this is going to be a one-eye beak snorkeler. Oh, look at that. That's an even scarier one. I like that one. We'll give this one the same kinds of tentacles and maybe some claw. clawfoots. And this monster, let's make sure it's underwater. So we'll do some sort of streaming underwater bits here. Boy, nothing like mosquitoes in your art studio when you're trying to do a live draw, huh? Testing your focus. What are we at? We are at 20 minutes in. So our goal, remember, was to draw an 8-page book in under an hour. We're doing well. We're keeping it simple. I hope your book is coming along. You might still be on page 2 or 3. I draw pretty fast because I draw a lot of these comics. I kind of draw like one of these a day, which gives you a lot of practice. It's kind of cool if you want to take those templates and fold up a bunch of them, then you can actually keep them in your pocket. And as you walk around, as you go through your day, somebody might say something, or you might notice something, or you might have a dream and you might wake up, or you might sit down and you might say, okay, I'm going to start my story, and just start doodling a little story here. It's a great way to kind of keep a diary. It's a great way to share your imagined stories or things that happen to you. Because what I'm going for here is, once we have finished this book, this template, the other reason I did it as a template like this, we can open it up, take it to a copy machine, make a bunch of copies, and each of those copies we can fold up and give to our friends and family as a book, right? And that gives them a way to read through this story and maybe make one of their own if it inspires them. I think I know what this monster is going to say. Let's try this out. I'll give it some curly horns. Let's try this out. This monster says, "Too small, throw it back." They're going to wait till Rabbit gets a little bigger. Oh, look at that. That word is going to get a little scrunched there. So I am just going to stop right there and re-letter that line. Hey, I got one. Too small. Oh, I already. Pay attention, Merrick. It says too small. Throw back. Throw it back. And I give these monsters sort of underwater wavy speech bubbles, maybe even some bubbles around them. And we'll do like lots of little dots under them because they're in the mud under the water. And maybe some fish. These monsters could be like friends of the fish. Okay. Usually when I pencil, I don't do a lot of detail. I just kind of rough out the scene. But I want this to be visible so you can see how I'm thinking about it. And then we're going to go in with an inking tool afterwards with a black pen. So you will need a black pen in a moment. All right, so let's just test read. Relaxing. Oh, look how open and relaxing and clean that is. Huh? Tug, tug, zip. Whoa, sploosh. Nice sequence. I think that works. Hey, I got one. Too small. Throw it back. So what's going to happen on page 8? I mean, we're already at page 8. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Jenny. Jenny's watching and says, my son will love this. Yeah. Yeah, definitely share it with your son. This is why we're doing this as a Facebook Live, so we can do it now together, but also share it around, because I really love seeing other artists go and swap mosquitoes. No, I love seeing other artists go and draw their projects from start to finish, from blank page to finished product. So so that's what we're thinking here, that this video will be shareable. And if you want to support the work, I'll put this out here too as we're working. If you want to help us make more videos like this, patreon.com/Merrick Bennett is where my patrons have been so generous and so helpful this all summer in making these videos possible. So you can join up there at any level. And it's really appreciated. Hey, I got one. Too small. Throw it back. So what do we show? Rabbit flying through the air up out of the water here? Or maybe a closer up, like the scene we did before where you only see part of the canoe, and maybe the dog's in the canoe, Greta's in the canoe, and Rabbit's coming up out of the water. Like I said, we're not trying to create the Sistine Chapel here. We're just like telling a story, following our imaginations through and seeing where we end up. And Rabbit, fortunately, with monsters this big under the water here, Rabbit's fortunate to end up back at the canoe, I think. What does Rabbit say coming up out of the water? I like to go bike riding with my dog. Maybe Rabbit will say that. I never have mosquitoes in here. I turn on the live draw and suddenly there's mosquitoes coming in and they're hungry. Boy, I hope you have fewer mosquitoes in your studio. All right. I've been drawing Greta the dog just as like this bean with dog features. I think she needs to be a little smaller there. How did I draw her on the first time? Oh, yeah, look at that. Her face is big, her body's small. All right, keep the body small, keep the face big. Maybe her fangs, maybe her tongue. Maybe her paws on the side of the canoe. She's by now chewed up the paddle clearly. And Rabbit says, want to go for a bike ride? How about next time? Let's do a bike ride. Do a bike ride. That's just going to fit. Getting a little small there. Will that be readable? Next time, let's just do a bike ride. And then I do on the template, I see I have my signature website there on the spine. So that's fine. So this will be, maybe I could put to be continued or the end or few or something like that under there. All right. So now, oh, the cover. We left the front cover blank, right? So now I need a title, you know? So relaxing, huh? Tug, tug, zip, whoa, sploosh. Oh, hey, I got one. Too small, throw it back. Next time, let's just do a bike ride. So the title could be, you know, a working title could be like Gone Fishing or something cliche, but let's just put that down for now. And what do we want on the cover? Do we want like water and a tentacle coming up out of it? I don't know. By Merrick. Let's think about that. I always leave the cover for last, like I say, because I like to think about it. I like to get to know my story and then decide when inspiration strikes. Sometimes I leave the cover blank for like the next day or something, you know, or I come back to it a day or two or a week later and I'll have an idea suddenly. All right, so now it is time with our, where's my card here? I've been using this all summer. Share your pie. So the process that I use in making all my comics is I pencil them first, right? And then I come in with a black pen. I like to use a felt tip flare pen or a water-based Blick marker, but there are better art pens that you can get. They're just more expensive. And then I erase my artwork. That is a dirty eraser. I've been doing a lot of erasing because I've been doing a lot of penciling and inking. So pencil, ink, erase. This little star here means ask somebody else to read your work to you, right? It's always a good idea before you ink it. We've been reading it over and over again. I trust you to comment if you have any concerns about readability or anything confusing in here. You'll just drop a comment in on the Facebook video, the Facebook Live, and we can fix it now. Of course, we can always fix our inking mistakes too, but it's easier to fix penciled mistakes. So I'm going to leave the cover for now. Not sure what will be on there, but I will go in here and start inking my artwork. How are we doing on time? We've been at this 29 minutes, 19 seconds. Look at that. It's not going to take the same amount of time to ink because inking can go a little faster because I'm not going to be like trying things out and erasing. Now I'm following my pencil lines. I might add some details in. I might change some things around, like I'll move Rabbit's ear so it's not touching the R. When I'm inking, I'm thinking of, I put it this way, I'm thinking of my reader. Some comics artists say, oh, I don't think of the reader, I think of the artwork, but I think of it as, I experience it as trying to see this through the eyes of the reader, right? and make it as easy as possible for the reader to see what I want them to see here. Like I said, I might have to take some white out and take off that panel border if I decide I don't want that border right through the middle. But I'm going to wait because remember, there's another step here, and that is coming in and erasing the pencil lines. I want to do that before I do any kind of correcting whiteout stuff. Boy, Greta's tongue and her fangs look kind of dangerous. I mean, like the fangs and the tongue are kind of close in there. I don't know how that works. She'd be biting her tongue all the time. All right, let's make those ears a little bit shorter so they don't touch those letters. Your characters might change each time you draw them too. A lot of people are surprised when they see cartoonists work because you kind of think if you go through a lot of art classes in school or something, you think of this very technically, like there's a lot of technique. You got to learn to draw. But actually, I think in cartooning, it's actually kind of helpful to be a newcomer. I really cultivate my newcomer mind as I'm cartooning, because if I get really fancy here and I have some fancy technique for making the water look really realistic and it takes me 6 hours to do here, I might not finish my mini comic by deadline. Cartoonists work under time pressure and under also like the reader's attention span. You've got to get the story to the reader ASAP. So the simpler this picture is, the faster the reader can look at it, understand it, and move on. I often have a goal of, if you flip through this book and looked at each page for 1 second, would you still get the main story? That's what I'm trying for in this. Even if you didn't read, even in my graphic novels, I'll just flash these up as we're inking. In my graphic novels, like these, I do a historical series, The Civil War Diary of Freeman Colby. And if you flip through, even if you didn't read the text, which is all based on letters and diaries of people who were alive in the Civil War, I think you could see from the pictures and get the basic idea. Oh, they're in camp. Oh, they're doing something with their clothing. There's bugs all over them. Oh, now he's eating something, right? You get that basic idea. So that's something that comics do really well. They share information quickly. And if I keep it simpler, it's a little easier for you to get that information. This is a pretty simple story. Not quite at the level of a historical epic, right? But it's really fun to just doodle these little projects. I've been doing this all summer long with Comics Camp. We're going to be doing it all fall through the Patreon. Right? I put that up here. And we'll be doing, I'm going to just come on all fall, once a week, a couple times a week maybe, and just share what I'm working on. And we'll do a quick little demo. The past week or so, we've been doing, yesterday we were working on sci-fi title sequence for a sci-fi space adventure strip. And the week before that, we were working on a full color poster from the Wilderness from Freeman Colby from 1864, based on a painting by Winslow Homer. So there's all sorts of stuff we're doing. It's going to be a bit of a grab bag this fall, but I'm really looking forward to the season because it's just so fun to come on here and draw with you and hear from you as you're working on your comics, and then get feedback on these pieces. So like I say, if you see anything, if you have any questions, as we're inking here, go ahead and comment in there. I'm watching the comments. Sometimes people ask a question like, why did you do this? And I realize, oh my gosh, I need to change that. So I really like getting feedback of any kind with these projects, especially if you're working at your desk and you think you're getting a story just the way you want it, and then some fresh eyes can look at it. It's so helpful to have your fresh eyes take a look at this artwork, troubleshoot it for us. make sure it reads correctly, right? It's what we're really after here is a transmission of something that happens in my imagination as I'm drawing. And then when you look at it without me explaining it to you, you should be able to understand a little something of that imaginary experience I had on the page in front of me, and it's happening in front of you. And it's happening in your own head, in your own imagination, with real mosquitoes flying around. Goodness. All right. Zip. I'm going to tip this whoa so it reads down. Whoa. Zoop. That way it reads down along our arc instead of across the arc. And here goes rabbit. We know it's rabbit because of that little tail. Legs kicking. Splash coming up here. Splash, splash. Oh, not splash. Let's go to, I'm going to switch to my marker here for this sound effect here because this I want to be big. And maybe I'll make it kind of wavy. You're always drawing your text into your panels. Sploosh. That got a little scrunched there, but hopefully the reader can read it. And then we did sort of a splooshy wave around. All right. Okay, zip sploosh. You know what I might want to do? It might be kind of cool to make the canoe black. That'll be really arresting, really eye-catching, and it will also drive home that there's the canoe and there's the canoe, that these are two separate panels. I'll do that at the very end. And I also will point out, this is nice because our pages get double-sided here, but if you look on the back of the paper, the ink will bleed through a little bit. So I always leave that backside of the paper blank, right? When you're making copies, you can double-side your copies, but when we're drawing directly onto paper, here's what our book looks like so far, right? And we can photocopy this. I mean, look at how the ink pops off the page and makes it super easy to see, right? And the pencil doesn't quite do the same. So once we've got the whole thing inked and erased, we'll be able to make a photocopy of this, make 10 photocopies, make 100, give them out to all our friends and family, and then maybe this series of Rabbit and Greta going off and having adventures. Maybe that'll kick off a series. Maybe this will become Gone Fishing Episode 1. Most of my stories kind of continue and continue. In fact, all my graphic novels, like the Civil War Diary of Freeman Colby series, I'm currently working on volume 3. It's volume 1 and 2 here. And my newest graphic novel, the travel sketchbook, Sharjah sketchbook, all my graphic novels actually start as mini comics like this. And chapter by chapter, I kind of draw them, learn the story. Sometimes I draw them all out of order. But then they eventually, after sometimes a few months or a year or 2 or 6 years, they become a book. Not all mini comics become books in my experience, but all my books, one way or another, start out as a mini comic with this kind of a time crunch deadline. There's always some kind of time crunch. There's always some kind of challenge of how do you get a story to a reader so they can understand it. Hey, I got one. If I had a little more space, I'd make that monster's voice kind of ragged and shaky, but I think I better go for readability here because there isn't a lot of space under this, under the water here. Oh, look, I'm going to move these eyes so they are looking up. That's a change I can make without repenciling. I'm going to stop the line of that monster so the fishing line can go in front of it. See how I did that? I didn't quite draw the line through the fishing line. That helps your eye see that the line goes in front of it. Put these horns in here. I like these underwater monsters with horns. I don't know what their life cycle is, but maybe they lock horns with other monsters down there. All right. Neva says, Merrick, do you have a comic artist that you love? Oh my goodness. I've been, that's a good question. I just picked up, just off the top of my head, I just picked up Joe Sacco's newest book. And he's been traveling around the Northwest Territories in Canada and collecting collecting stories from Indigenous people there about their life experiences, their communities. And he draws it in this beautiful way where he shows them telling the stories and he shows himself collecting them. And I'm learning a lot about Canadian history and Indigenous culture as told by Joe Sacco. So that's kind of right off the top of my head. I've been thinking also of I've been part of a project in Vermont similar to that called El Viaje Más Caro, which is the most costly journey, which is Spanish language comics from storytellers in the migrant farm worker community there. And I'm so impressed with, there's a variety of artists drawing in the El Viaje project, and so impressed with their work and the storytellers and the way they work with the storytellers to tell their stories. I also just picked up Linda Barry's book, Making Comics, which is all these great lessons and activities about making comics. So I definitely recommend that. It's great. It's printed like a little notebook full of her doodles and drawings, actually full of a lot of drawings by her students over the years that she kind of rescued from the trash heap, from the recycling bin. What are we going to do? I think you notice what I did here. I was just talking and I didn't even realize I was doing it. I wanted this monster to kind of pop off the bottom of the river here. Maybe it has like some scale bumps here underneath. So I'm texturizing it. And I went in under the monster and I shaded around those tentacles. And that really kind of gives it like the shadow of my hand under my hand on the desk. It gives it sort of a physical, three-dimensional feel, even though it's just black ink in there. Maybe a couple bubbles. I'm thinking I'll go in and get rid of these panel border lines, but I don't have to. I could actually leave it as it is with two panel borders side by side. Too small. Throwback. I like the idea that if I were caught by monsters, they would just think I was too small, not worth munching. Throw me back to let me grow. Phew. And I would know who's hiding out under the water here. I like how your imagination kind of, like I said, imagination is a survival tactic, right? Your imagination kind of says, what if? And it helps you imagine things. I think that's why we pay attention to faces so much. If you put a face, a big eye into your artwork, the reader's going to look at it and stare at it and see it looking back. Because we've learned, our instincts have learned, you got to look at faces. You can learn a lot by paying attention to those faces around you, whether monsters or of other creatures you know. I think I'm going to color that black in around these teeth to darken that mouth. Yeah, this monster looks devious. This monster knows the rules and the size limits. We'll definitely shade in under these tentacles too, I think. I like this with inking, you can kind of relax and all the details, all the big decisions are made, right? So I can kind of relax and focus on like, what do I want to shadow? I don't have to think, where does the monster go? What is it saying? I think that's why I focus on the artwork, on the appearance of the artwork when I'm inking. Penciling is like you're focusing on what's the story? What are they saying? What are they doing? Inking, you kind of free up that's why I can talk better when I'm inking. You kind of free up your attention to focus on maybe nonverbal things like Oh, shadows under the tentacles. That will make this monster stand out to readers too, because it's like an underline under a word. It shows that this is something heavy and big coming out in front of that mucky river mud. Put some dots in there. Doesn't that look kind of gray and mucky and rough? When you're inking, you really only have black ink on white paper. That's all you have to play with. So how do you use that to create textures and things? Like the texture of the water here, the more waves I add, the more sort of gray and textured it'll look. Smaller waves, bigger waves, it all adds up to a texture and a feel. And it now looks really different from the open white sky, right? And I may have to go in here to make sure this looks the same. And now the sploosh has a different sort of texture and look to it, which is good. We want that to jump out at you and be a loud sound. And then here we've totally changed the scene. It's like murky and underwatery. And these monsters are stirring up clouds of dust. And Rabbit is out of his element here. Hey, I got one, too small, throw it back. Oh, I kind of like that. So we started off so clean and relaxing. Then we have some action, and then we're in a totally different underwater world. And it looks so different from before. That's the beauty of revealing these. If you're drawing this, if by some chance you're drawing this on a, I don't even know where my page went. But if you were to draw this all out in 8 panels like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you would see those monsters even as you read the beginning of the story. But I love how, because we're doing this in this 8-page template format, which we said at the beginning, if you're just joining us, you can actually download this template from the Children's Museum, or you can download it from my website. I posted a link with the video, so you can print it out. And then I have a video in that link that shows you how to fold it up to make an 8-page book, right? And when we're done, once we've inked our penciled ideas here, I have one more page and then the cover. Oh, this is what I have to decide here. Next time, let's just do a bike ride. Is that a good line to end with? Is there another line? What might Rabbit say? Whoa, sploosh. Hey, I got one. Too small, throw it back. Let's do a bike ride instead. I'll go with my first idea. Next time, let's just do a bike ride. Rabbit's already thinking about, like, maybe this happens a lot. Maybe Rabbit and Greta encounter monsters. Well, I guess if I draw, remember how this started? I drew this monster on the blank page, and then we built the story around it. So if I do that, Rabbit and Greta will always encounter monsters. No matter where they go, there will always be a monster lurking in the pages. The question is just, what kind of monster? Friendly? Law-abiding? Hungry? So next time they can do a bike ride, but they will still encounter some kind of cool blob monster, maybe a friendly one next time. I think I will carefully tuck the water behind Rabbit here and around Rabbit's head, so those lines don't actually touch. And then I'll carefully tuck water in front of Rabbit. And I think Rabbit's swimming here, so the arms won't be visible. Put this canoe in here. I think I will go in and I'm going to do Greta. Tongue, teeth, paws. I think I will go in and make this canoe. Maybe some whiskers when we see her up close. There we go. I think I will go in and make this canoe black, because that'll be a sign, a quick sign to the reader. Black canoe, no canoe. This will feel like a really different place. And then black canoe, it'll be a really cool visual sign that you are grounded in this scene. So let's try that. Worst case, I'll have to redraw the whole book if I don't like it. Now, if you're ever unsure, I'm going to have to leave some space around the paddle here. If If you're ever unsure, you can always finish up the book, make a photocopy, and then color the canoe black in the photocopy, or whatever it is that you're coloring in that you're unsure about. And then you preserve your options. You can always go back to the original uncolored version. But I'm pretty sure I want this canoe to be really bold. I mean, look at that. Oh, that's a nice sort of smile across the whole picture. So when you open this up, boom, there it is, a nice heavy black canoe. It feels really grounding. The ink kind of shows your eye where you are. Even if you saw this from 6 or 8 feet away, you would see that shape and you would see 2 characters in it, right? Tim says, greetings. Hey, Tim. All right, so now I have to, let me make sure that's not bleeding through too much. No, it's not. Sometimes it bleeds through onto the next page, so you have to watch that, depending on the paper you're using. So now I have to black in this prow of the canoe. And now I'm blacking in this prow, the same prow. That rhythm on the page gives you sort of a punctuated rhythm that tells you this is the same as this, where here we had our 2 pages, we had a picture stretching across. Here we have this, remember it, there it is again, right? All right, let's zoom in a little bit here. So no canoe in here, no blacking in to be done. Adjust that focus a little bit. Sometimes I bump this camera as I work, and it goes a little out of focus on us. Let's see here. All right, so no canoe to black in here, but on the back page, I'll have to watch Greta's pause again. A little hard to get that corner. I could do that with my pen. In fact, I'll do around Greta's paws with the pen. Markers are great for big areas, not so great for detail work. There we go. That's better. Let's just test that here. There's our big canoe. Canoe, bump, bump, 2 rhythm points of canoe. No canoe, but a monster mouth. That's what the ink guides us down to. Rabbit's kind of watching that monster mouth, I think. And then here we're back to a familiar panel. So, it feels like I've come up for air. You know that feeling when you're underwater and you pop up and you look around and you see something familiar? That's kind of what we want the reader to have here. And let me just add a few more sort of wavy underwater lines here so it's a little more gray under here. I think we are ready to finally consider our front cover. Does this work? Gone Fishing by Merrick. The other thing I could show is Rabbit and Greta with a fishing pole. Maybe I don't want to give away the monsters. I think I want that page with the monsters to be like one thing that Rabbit sees just on those 2 pages, not on the cover. So let's see, if we weren't going to show a monster, we could show our other characters. Maybe this is like, actually the story starts here. Rabbit's just whistling along. Maybe fishing pole with a line. And Greta's running along. I don't think I can fit the paddle in her mouth here. It'll be too confusing, so I'll just do like little nose and tongue. She has a curly tail. There we go. So the story actually starts on the front cover this way, right? Because it shows them going, and then it shows them in the canoe, rowing. Maybe we need like some ripples showing the canoes moving here. Okay, there they go. Look at that. The canoe just started moving. And they're moving left to right. So that moves you into the next panel. Zip, jump, sploosh moves you into the next panel. Hopefully pushes you into the end as you come back. Rabbit's going right to left here, coming back to the canoe. That all works. And here they're going left to right, which encourages you to open the panel and see what they're doing. If they were going right to left, that would be like they're coming back from fishing, like they have gone fishing. All right, so this is all working. So far, so good. What are we at? 54:55. That gives us 3 minutes or so to finish this cover. Then we'll do our erasing and we'll be done in an hour. This is great. So fun to draw with you all. I hope your comics, you don't have to be done in an hour. You can, now that you've got the sense of it, you can keep going with it. But I hope your comics are coming along well. I notice hungry mosquitoes. I notice that my marker might be running out of ink because it's leaving some light patches at the ends of the lines here. So I'll fix those. I think my pen is the one to use to draw these characters here. Twist Rabbit's mouth up because Rabbit is whistling. Maybe I'll make him whistling a triplet. Do, do, do. Whistling down to the river. This would be the Kentucky River here in New Hampshire that Rabbit is going fishing in. I'm going to move my name down, make it a little smaller so it's not pressed up against their little drop shadows. Make Greta a little fatter. I love drawing just little bean shapes where I don't have to get the details just right. Move her ears a little bit. I don't have to get my own details. I don't have to study in a mirror what my glasses and hat and beard look like. I just draw myself as a rabbit, and it's easier to read. It's easier to draw. And I like to think of it as, you know, a little closer to who I really am. And you can draw yourself as any kind of animal. Some days you might change from day to day. There's a passage in my newest book, Sharjah Sketchbook, a couple passages where we talk about what it means to draw people as animals and what it reveals, what you can learn about somebody. You can really read somebody by the way they cartoon themselves. It's really interesting, especially to do with strangers, especially people from other cultures, I find. It's a great way to meet people and get to know people. What animal are you, or what's your favorite animal? And then what does that tell us about who you are in this story? Because you're always in a story, right? So this I drew this, you know, partly from my own experience, partly from other people, seeing other people catch fish and things go wrong, partly from imagination, partly from a monster we just put on page 6 to see what happens in the story. And also building from another thing I like to do, bike rides, canoeing. It all kind of goes together, makes an imaginative story and something that we can, we're not quite ready to do this yet. But remember, our ultimate goal is to be able to open this up, take it to any photocopier or any printer, print out a bunch of copies, and then fold them up the same way. I have my instructional videos. I'll post links here. Fold them up the same way and give out copies to our friends. I have, you know, here at my desk, I have all these different projects I'm working on, local history projects, working from gravestones to uncover and discover mysteries and hidden parts of local history. I have some more made-up mini comics from Comics Camp 2020 all summer. And you can bet as I'm working on Freeman Colby Volume 3, I'm going to be doing chapters of that as mini comics to share around with people. So this is a great technique. Last step, we are at 58 minutes. That gives us about a minute to finish the erasing. And maybe I'll just leave that panel border on page 2 and 3 for now. I think blacking the canoe in makes this panel border sort of irrelevant. The canoe goes across it. So we'll do a quick erase. If you're running out of time and you want to be done in under an hour, then just focus on your characters' faces and your words, faces and words. Because if the fish are a little pencil line blurred, that's okay. So let's focus on faces and words. Faces and words. Let's see. Rabbit's face. Sound effects, fishing line. If those ripples are a little doubled by pencil line, that's okay. But zip, whoa, canoe, rabbit's body, sploosh. That's going to be our focus for erasing here. I'm going to come back and erase all these a little better. Just want to be pretty much done after an hour has gone by. Hey, I got one. Monster face. Just erasing those double pencil lines right in there. Another monster face. I might put some stripes on that beak or something. Who knows? This could be a good coloring project too if you have some finely sharpened colored pencils. Too small, throw it back. And last one. Oh, we were at an hour just now. So, all right, we went 10 seconds over, but we'll do these words. Greta's face, rabbit's face. And there we go. 8-page book, an hour and 20 seconds. Make sure you, if you want, let me change this page number here into a smiley face. There's a little character for us. Make sure at the end you sign it. Little heart, little peace sign, whatever you want to put in there, little stars, whatever you want to put around your signature. Merrick. Today, I mean, sign your name, obviously. Today is the 29th of August, 2020. It's the Makers Fest, if you want to sign that in there. You drew this at the Makers Fest. All right, that's a little clue to your readers about the historical context of these great stories. Oh, great, Deb, you got those comics. Deb says, thanks for the bunch of my lovely little books. Yeah, Deb, so I just sent you the Who is Jeremiah Crocker, right? I probably sent you these first 8 pages. I have about 30 pages by now, so I'm going to be posting those over on the Patreon. If you're a fan of mini comics, you want to see how this looks when it's done, when it's used to do historical research, head on over there. You can become a patron and support this work and get the updates every time a new live draw comes up. Oh, I like how this is looking. Now, don't be disappointed that it's all out of order and 4 pages are upside down. Remember, nobody's ever going to read it this way. But I can open this up now that I've done my pencil ink erase process. We've gone from blank page to finished book in an hour. I can open this up and I can take it to any photocopier, right? And I can put it on the photocopier, make a single-sided copy. I can, of course, use this for letter writing to friends and stuff, but I'll always take those single-sided copies, fold them up, following my instructional video on my site, fold them up into a mini and share them out with everybody I meet. And this is, I can't wait to share this one with people down at the farmer's market on Fish Thursday when we go down to get the local CSA fish, because it's a fishing story and a monster story. So people love fish and monsters and dogs and bunnies and canoes. And as a working artist, it's like a business card too. It gets your website out there if you put your website on it. Let's see, what else do we have? I think that's going to be it, folks. We are up to an hour. Thank you very much for joining with us. Really great to get the feedback and all your imaginings in the comments. Thank you so much for suggestions and different reads on this. I'm going to do a little more inking, then I'll scan it in and I'll definitely post it over on the Patreon. And Comics Camp 2020 is wrapping up, but we're just quickly turning the corner and going right into the fall. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much to the Children's Museum of New Hampshire for doing this. I'm Merrick Bennett. It is Comics Workshop 2020 and on into the future. Thanks for drawing with us. Have a wonderful weekend. See you soon for the next live draw.